Going once, going twice, sold! And welcome to the Purple Wave Perspective, a chance for Dave, Nemo, and Don Nash to talk market conditions, economic factors, and top challenges. Ultimately, it's about getting the perspective of when to trade and when to maintain. So grab a cup, settle in, and see what's on the auction block. All of it brought to you by purplewave.com. And now, here's Dave and Don.
As Claire Marie said, this segment is brought to you by Purple Wave. Purple Wave Auction is the trusted, no-reserve equipment marketplace. Bi-weekly truck and trailer auctions provide countless opportunities to locate the perfect truck to make your job easier or just expand your fleet. All equipment sells to the highest bidder regardless of price. Transparent listings allow you to bid with confidence. PurpleWave.com. They are straight, simple, sold. And without further ado or a don't, here's Dave, Nemo, and Don Nash. Good morning to you, Dave.
Good morning to you, Jimmy Mack. Hey, Don Nash, good morning.
Dave, Nemo, how in the world are you, sir?
Fantastic on this Monday morning, and happy birthday to the United States Marine Corps, the Continental Marines on this date back in 1775.
That is correct. Yeah, 250, right? Is that right?
That is correct.
Am I right? So, yeah, that's awesome. It's a wonderful thing to be in. It's Veterans Holiday that our veterans are celebrating. I saw my brother-in-law this morning, so shout out to him. He's doing his part. He's active duty right now, but he's doing some of the stuff around our local community with some of the veterans and some of the parades that we had over the weekend. So, good day.
Boy, it's kind of strange. We're going to get into what we're supposed to here in a minute, but I was just thinking, I was around for the bicentennial 1976. And the one thing that when you say bicentennial year, everything was red, white, and blue. The one thing that just flashes in my vision every time I hear about this bicentennial was Buck Owens' guitar.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's
you remember
right.
That red, white, yeah, the red, white,
absolutely.
And blue guitar. You can still find those on eBay some places too,
Yep.
That was a hot thing. But yeah 250 years all of a sudden. Boy, that happened in a hurry, didn't it?
It did, and I was around too back in the '76. I was a young guy back in those days, but I didn't have the Buck Owens guitar, but I did have these little these little Liberty Bells that they were giving out that were penny banks, basically. And I remember getting one of those as a kid and filling that up, and about 10 or 12 years later, cracking it open and going buy some baseball cards. So I couldn't tell you. So I don't have any of that left, but happy birthday to our Marine Corps and celebrate our veterans today for sure.
Oh, fantastic. So let's get down to business here. We are approaching the end of the year now, and I don't know if year end makes a lot of difference to a lot of people anymore in terms of future planning and timing for purchasing. Does it? Does the end of the year tack up or tack down in the auction world?
Typically, it tacks up, Dave, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But and they're often competing against each other for the reasons. But it just depends on where you're at in your own business. The end of the year for purchasing, a lot of people will like to expand their fleet or make some procurements on some new equipment, trailers, trucks. It doesn't matter what it is, just because it can offset some of the income that you may have earned through the year. So you need to grow your fleet. You want to invest back in your business. Now's a good time to do it because you're looking at prices. You know what those are going to be right now. We're not so sure what they're going to look like in the following year. So it's a good time to do that because that purchase usually has some tax advantages for you.
Is that for LLCs a lot too? LLCs need to balance out at the end of the year, and
that is correct, Dave. Yeah, so they can make that those purchases and help reinvest and grow their business. But that tax advantage is there for sure, even on a personal level. That you can still do that. I think I'm not a tax guy, but I do know some guys that are owner operators that run their own show without that LLC, and can still I guess have some advantage in doing that. The other side of it is the selling part of it. If you got stuff that is it's being decommissioned, or it's a truck you need to get rid of, or a trailer or whatever like that, it's always good to do it the year before, now instead of next year, because everything has a birthday come January 1st, right? So that devalues it even more. So it's always an advantage to move that as you can. Plus the buying pool, again, like we were just talking about, the buying pool is usually pretty strong coming in the last quarter of the year, particularly when we're coming into November and December like we are right now. So approaching the mid and the latter parts of that quarter.
The excise tax is only on new trucks, new trailers. So anything that's used is going to be doesn't have that 1916 tax attached anymore. Correct?
That is
Okay.
correct. Yeah. So for us, so yeah, your excise tax is paid if you shop used and buy through Purple Wave. Yeah, you don't have to worry about that 12.5 points on that big bill to make it even that much more uncomfortable to have to purchase. Yeah, so you can certainly take advantage of that by not having to pay Uncle Sam twice is what we look at. So yeah, so the excise tax is already paid on anything that we sell through Purple Wave.
And that campaign has been going on longer than 12 and a half years to get that tax removed, too. But
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
we won't go down that rabbit hole. We'll
Mm-hmm,
never get
mm-hmm.
back out for sure. So, what does okay, so we're going to heat up the market a little bit at the end of the year for a number of reasons, as you mentioned. Are the trucks there? Is everything ready for the end of the year on your side of the equation?
Oh yeah, for sure. So we've got an auction this week, coming up on the 13th, and then we've got an auction 2 weeks hence, and that will put us over towards the end of the month, and then I believe one more that we've got scheduled. So we've got 3 truck auctions, possibly 4. I have to look at the calendar. I don't have it in front of me right now. Before the end of the year. So yeah, we're always queued up. We move quick to get things into the market and out of the market and get sold and transacted. That's the nature of our business, is the expediency to both sides of the equation, whether to get rid of the asset to get to the cash, or you need the asset as quick as you can because you need to get out and get that load and get it to work. So both ways work. But yes, we are absolutely ready to move quick in our industry. Always have been, always will be. That's just part of what we do every day.
When something happens someplace, there are usually some reasons why it's happened here and not there. And I want to kind of take that idea and flesh it out a little bit more in terms of where are you guys selling frequently right now? And is that a year? Does that take in terms of the season, the not seasonal weather wise, but the point of the year that we're in? Do areas get hot and cold in terms of like Texas, maybe the oil field areas? Do
Sure.
they get is that a real hot spot?
Well, I think about just we'll take Texas for part of the equation real quick, but I will be honest with you a little bit, tell our listeners and you a little bit how the sausage is made on some things. I've been in this business for a little bit, and I have yet to see a single auction, and I do this mean down all the way to a single auction where Texas has not participated. Full stop. That's
Right,
how big,
okay.
that's how big the economy is. So they generate their own gravity down there. So it doesn't really matter what the season is for Texas. But you are right, Dave. There are other parts of the country where there's some economic seasonality to it, if you want to call it that. So right now we're looking at, for food products and stuff like that, you start to see a lot of that purchasing. You see a lot of advanced thought about when to purchase that stuff at this time of the year for it. So you start thinking about I don't know. You start the reefer trailers come to mind immediately. Any sort of refrigerated transport, those are usually pretty hot tickets coming into Q3 and coming out of Q3 going into Q4. Sorry, and then the sleeper cab market is usually pretty strong through this part of the year too. Day cabs, they do okay, but day cabs seem to be they're a little more of a spring, late winter sort of a thing. This time of the at least in this time of the year that we're looking at forward looking. And I'm looking at that because I just got back last week. I was out in San Diego. So don't hate me for that. Weather was beautiful. I know we were having it, but I was out there for the Used Trucking Association convention. Always a good time with that group of people. So it's a group of used truck dealerships. It's in its 25th year this year. So that's same age as Purple Wave, as a matter of fact. And so we had a good time out there, but a lot of education about what was going on in the market, and the seasonality of some of that stuff was very important in some of the talks that was there. And the sleeper cab market right now, kind of holding its own. It's actually, people think it's kind of beaten down a little bit. We start seeing some of these dire numbers, et cetera. But the real numbers that we looked at last week, based upon my friend Steve Tam at Act Research, was telling me the freight market is actually pretty growing, a little bit, but it's expected to shrink down a little bit after the first of the year. But that's driving up a lot of the long haul stuff, and so that in turn plays into our factor about what sleeper trucks are doing, right? Supply and demand. Sleeper trucks right now seem to be doing okay. They're actually on par with what we saw coming into like 2019 or so. So we're kind of out of the doldrums of that, I think, a little bit with what the post-COVID slump that we saw. So it seems to be recovering a little bit. The reasons why, I don't know. I'm not a great economist on it. I read the tea leaves and I just take those numbers to the bank and see what we can do with them. But that's what we were discussing last week. And those seasonal economic factors are addressing that as well, because a lot of the stuff that we see that are doing pretty good right now, that the freight rates are mixed, but the flatbed stuff is looking really strong right now, stronger than it has been. Let's put it that way. And that drives up a lot of the some of the sleeper cab pull too. I mean, the long haul flatbed stuff is what I was talking about, and it was addressed last week at TMA. So, but yeah, you're absolutely right. There are some reasons behind that. There are always economic factors associated with it, typically, whether that's spawned from some regional event or something that's more on a national level. But yeah, there's always those moving factors that create moving targets in our industry for sure.
One of the, and I'm not circling back to the tax, but I'm going to use it as a reference. The excise tax is really high. It adds 25,000 now. I think it was the latest number to the price of truck. So a lot of folks would like to have a new truck because of the ADAS equipment that it'll have, because of the driver safety, the fuel economy, and insurance breaks, because the more bells and whistles you have, the more the insurance companies like it. Is there so somebody who wants to take a look at a new truck, are they looking at trucks that you guys have now because you're getting enough of these in at this point? Is ADAS going back far enough to where you can say, well, we got some great ADAS trucks here, if we can call them that, ADAS trucks. Right. So are we kind of coming to a median point to where, well, I could buy that new one, but this one here's 3 years old and it's got everything I need and the insurance company likes it. Is that more of a motivator now?
I think so. Yeah, I not being a long haul driver myself or a conventional driver, but the stories I hear is that's a yes, because the truck from 5 years ago, 4 years ago, we'll talk about it on the truck of the month. We'll talk about it in a minute, but it's got pretty much the same equipment as one that you're paying for now. There's some refinements on it and stuff like that, but the standard, ADAS stuff that comes on those trucks has been around for, a little bit now. It seems to be pretty standardized across the trucks and at least the options that are inside of it. So there's a very good chance if you're looking at trucks that are, say, 2018 or newer in the used market, they're going to be properly equipped for that and be compliant for everything that's out there right now. But again, take a look close at it when you're making that purchase decision. One of the reasons why we do such a detailed job in our data capture or listings page when you're looking at the stuff on Purple Wave is so that the driver and the prospective buyer will understand exactly how that truck is equipped. And the other great thing about that too, if you can't make heads or tails of it, or you got an extra question or something like that, there's better than 9 out of 10 times you're able to contact that buyer or the seller directly through Purple Wave. That's something that's pretty unique to us that's in the industry. So we like that transparency for people to completely understand the equipment that they're looking at, not just from our seat, but actually the previous owner's seat as well. And so that if you have questions about what ADAS is on there and how it's been used or why did they spec it and stuff like that, that opportunity exists there through purplewave.com to reach out to that individual owner who is selling his asset through Purple Wave and have that discussion. So, but to answer your question, yeah, Dave, I believe so. I think that is a driver now. The prices of trucks, good Lord, man. I mean, they're the price of most houses in the southwestern part of Virginia where I live. And so that if you can kind of beat that dealer price by getting something, maybe it's, got a little couple of 3 or 4 years onto it, 3 or 4, 5, 600,000 miles. It's got good maintenance history and stuff like that. I think you're in a better spot, and you're still compliant with everything that's out there necessary for DOT as well as your ADAS technology that's on these trucks. Yeah.
You've got a truck suitable, puts you in a better standard today, but that standard will remain for several more years. So that truck will be prime for a while.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
service life
yeah.
on these trucks are great. I mean, the body and the transmission drivetrains, they've improved those to where those are, trucks are about 1 million miles now. I mean, that's kind of, or a little bit better, just depends on what the truck. But the technology behind them, yeah, it's for the technology on a truck that's 2 or 3, 4, 5 years old right now. That even to a 5 to 7 year old truck, it's going to hold. It's going to be there for, it's not going to dramatically change over the next 3 to 5 years, which would probably be about the ceiling of the service life of that particular truck.
One of the things I know you like to cover, all the bases, so to speak, and diesel prices, interest rates, and then overall freight demand, obviously, are economic
Mm-hmm.
factors that you need to check off all the time. Do diesel prices really affect the sale of commercial motor vehicles, though? I mean, it is what it is, right?
It is. It depends on the fleet and then the person if they're owner operators. I've had these types of discussions with some of the larger fleets, and some of the extreme larger fleets, the top 10 carrier type fleets. And yeah, when their procurement officers talking about stuff like that, that difference between a 7.3 mile per gallon and an 8.1 mile per gallon or a 6.2 mile per gallon, multiply that out by one truck over a year, then multiply that out by the 4,000 trucks they've got in the fleet. That's a huge driver for
Mm-hmm,
them.
mm-hmm.
But on the individual level, not so much. I mean, that's a difference in a $1,500 or $1,000 a year in fuel, or maybe $2,000 or $3,000 may not be that big of a trade off for the driver who's an owner operator or a smaller fleet or something like that. It may be more about the particular type of equipment or its application, or he's got to have that higher horsepower engine because of he's in Colorado and he's pulling mountains, or he's got heavy loads, he's pulling like heavy wet silage and stuff like that out of the south and making it to the feed grains and stuff like that. But those types of applications requiring those higher horsepower, yeah, it's going to be more focused on the equipment and its performance on what it can actually do versus that miles per gallon, so to speak. But again, opinions vary, that's for sure. So I'm sure there's drivers listening right now saying, "Well, Don, not quite." So but those are the true experts. But certainly, yeah, we look at that, and that's something we're looking at Purple Wave too, to kind of maybe add additional information to some of our listings that can capture that, because that information actually, if people know it or not, can be attained through the ECM read on the truck itself. So that's something that we're looking to kind of change the industry up a little bit to better inform a buyer about the performance of that truck or the expected performance of that truck when they do purchase it. So that's something that we're looking into, and hopefully we'll probably have something carrying something like that and some expanded information on our trucks, which is already very, very detailed on purplewave.com, by the way. But just expand it a little bit more, so that driver can kind of play in that same league and make those kind of same decisions based upon good information that some of the larger carriers are using. They kind of get handheld and hand spoon fed by the dealers and the OEMs for sure because of the volumes that they buy. But yeah, we kind of think that information can be shared out to the rest of the country too, owner operators, small fleets, that sort of stuff. So we're looking at that. But yeah, that information I think is key on the large fleets, maybe not as key on some of the smaller fleets and the owner operators, and it's much more about the application of the equipment and its performance for the job that they need it to do.
Yeah, more of a one truck at a time kind of a thing, especially
Mm-hmm.
with the smaller, and especially the one truck owner operator. And that's who I was thinking of when I said, well, do diesel prices, because you have to factor in, well, yeah, this truck is not going to get the fuel economy I need, but that truck doesn't have the power I need. So where's the middle ground? Yeah, so a lot of decisions. But listening to you talk right here this morning, anybody listening that is in the market for a truck will know one thing, that if they called Don Nash and said, "Hey, Don, I heard you the other day with Nemo, and I didn't agree with something you said," he's going to have a great conversation on his hands.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
love that conversation.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. So I think if you're looking for a truck and you want to try the auction, if you're an auction buyer, then you know the drill. If you don't know the auction drill, though, Don, do you have a lot of first-time jitters and things like that on both sides of the equation?
Well, I think so. Yeah, from a buyer's perspective, for sure, right? I mean, everything that we do at purplewave.com focuses on what we call buyer confidence, because we want that buyer to be very confident in what they're looking at on the screen when they're making that purchase decision. And so that comes with as much information as we can possibly capture about that to convey that over to the buyer, so they're absolutely confident. And that's also what prompts us to be able to engage that buyer to the seller itself directly, should the seller choose that. And about, like I said, 9 times out of 10, our sellers do want that. But at any time, even that 10% that say, no, I've got a business to run, you guys handle it. We're there on the backside too, where they can give us a call. And then if we don't know the answer to it, we obviously reach out to the owner to get that information. So that buyer confidence is hypercritical to what we do. And I encourage anybody listening, if you're making an auction purchase, do that homework, do the legwork on that. Reach out to the seller, whether it's the auction company or the individual. Make those questions known to them. Be very comfortable with that. Again, those sorts of things are what we really focus upon to drive confidence in our platform, obviously, but also confidence in the equipment that you're going to purchase through purplewave.com. We're transparent and truthful to a fault, and we really want that. We're not trying to say, here, it is as is, where is. It's the law of the auction world, but we try to mitigate that as much as we can simply by making all that information available and then being available to the people themselves, the buyers, so they look at it. On the seller side, absolutely, because we sell everything unreserved. That no reserve option means it's going to sell to the highest bidder the day of. So that can give someone, well, could it sell for $1? Well, I guess in theory it could, but it doesn't, because it would be great, wouldn't it? But buying one of these new trucks for $1, but that's not the way it works. We have a tremendous buyer pool, and in the hundreds of thousands of registered users, and tens of thousands that look at these trucks every single day. Those are metrics we actually watch very, very closely. Buying on or selling online through the platform of purplewave.com, it takes a lot of that worry and guesswork out of it, because we are constantly engaged with our buyers. Like I was just saying, buyers are our top priority. We want them very confident in what we do and what they're looking at. And so that translates back across to the seller as well. We're going to engage those buyers. We're going to find the right buyers for your particular truck. We're not just taking your truck to an auction on Thursday and saying, I hope we get enough people in and registered, where we'll have a subset of people that might be interested in that VNL 670 that you've got that we're trying to sell. We're actually reaching out to every person that's ever looked at a VNL 670 over a certain amount of time and soliciting them to come through an invite to take a look at the equipment that we have online. We have a whole team that does that. And then everybody at Purple Wave who wears purple, even myself, that's what we do. We engage with prospective buyers. We're more as interested in what you're looking to buy as much as what you're looking to sell. Mm-hmm. So that positioning is very, very important. But yeah, it still comes with a little bit of jitters, right? It's got that unknown. But our job as the auction house, as the auctioneer, as the remarketing component for that particular seller, is to make that buyer confident that this is the truck and it's well represented. And if there's anything you don't understand about it, please reach out to us and or through the website to the seller himself and do your homework and do your legwork. But having that volume come through our channels, it really, if you try to sell something on your own and you make that price point, and we tell this to all of our customers or sellers, you're already starting kind of at a disadvantage, because the person that's going to show up probably is not going to pay you what you're asking for that particular truck. They're going to ask you, try to negotiate down. That's just normal. That's business, right? Mm-hmm. So that's just what we do. But we take that and turn that around a little bit. We put that where we're not telling everybody the price of the candy bar. We're letting the community figure that out on their own, what they're willing to spend. Highest bidder wins. That way, it usually will go past the price that somebody might have in their mind of what they're wanting to sell it for. And so if they would have sold it for what they were trying to sell it for, they may not have got as much money with it as well. So you're starting yourself in a box if you're trying to sell it, through Facebook Marketplace or anything like that. Whereas on the auction platform, especially through purplewave.com, where we have very, very confident buyers who rely and understand our platform extremely well, that it can go a lot higher than that. That's why the no reserve process of what we do really, really works.
Well, Don, you know what time it is now. It is time for Don's Purple Wave Pick of the Month.
Yes, sir. So this month we've got a 2021 Volvo VNL and it is sitting over in Salinas, Kansas. So it's just not too far from our home office there up in Manhattan, Kansas. It's offered to us through Great Plains Trucking, our good partners there that we've done a lot of business with. As a matter of fact, it's not just one truck. They've got a small fleet of trucks they got up there for this coming auction on Thursday. So it's a 2021 Volvo. Beautiful truck, absolutely beautiful. It's got about 486,000 on it. Service life on those engines, it's a D13 Volvo, so it's maybe 25%, 30% through its service life. Still have a lot of life left into it. Super clean looking truck. Has a big cattle guard on the front of it. It's a mid-rise sleeper on it, 72-inch sleeper. Automated transmission, 455 horsepower, but she's absolutely gorgeous. Currently bid on it right now. Current bid on it's holding about 25,000. We expect that to obviously go up a little bit when she goes to close, but that truck, if you had to go spec that same truck out and buy it today, new, you're probably looking at something about, I don't know, so 165,000, somewhere around there, maybe a little bit more with FET, depending on your relationship with your Volvo Mac dealer. But you got an opportunity to buy one here that's got a lot of life left into it, and she's just as clean as one of the new ones for a lot less. So we're hoping to see some good numbers on that. And again, anything else that's on purplewave.com coming up on Thursday as well at our Thursday truck sale.
Fantastic. Don, always a great pleasure talking to you, man, and listening to you, because I learn a lot. That's for sure.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I learn a lot listening to this whole show. I really do enjoy all the programming that you put on, Dave, and congratulations on your switch over, and looking forward to talking to you again next month.
Absolutely. Don Nash, everybody. And the place to be is purplewave.com. Just that simple, purplewave.com.